This is the MCCU Show podcast, home to banger Christian conversations.
And definitely good vibes.
It's home away from home.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the MCCU Show podcast. Today, we are joined by a very special guest who is going to introduce himself. And we're going to delve into a very exciting topic. I hope you've seen the headline of this episode. It's about sexual purity, walking the talk, sexual purity, walking the talk. We've had a lot of discussions about sexual purity as a union. From this year, we had an Angaza publication solely dedicated to the topic. And so today we want to focus on walking the talk, actually fulfilling this talk that we have, we should be sexually pure. Now, how do we do that? And we are joined today by Pastor Moffat to try and expound on that particular topic. And so I'd let him introduce himself. So Pastor Moffat, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Wow, thank you so much, Collins, Ruth, and Bichii. Thank you so much. My name is Pastor Moffat. I do a lot of things. I really do a lot of things, and all of them are concerning the young people. I'm a youth pastor at Sitam Valley Road, and also I do a lot of ministry here and there with the young people. I'm married to such a beautiful wife. Her name is Daisy Olo. And I'm blessed to be here. I keep on saying I dream youth, I sleep youth. I always think about my generation. That's me.
We are happy to have you here. And when Ruth suggested you as a guest, I was super excited because I think I've heard of you somewhere. And I was really excited to have you as a guest, and we were all excited. And so, jumping straight into the business of the day. I have a very personal question, but will you allow me to speak freely as I frame my question, Pastor?
Yeah. Kindly go ahead.
Okay, so you were once a young person.
Yes, you can see I'm not that old.
Yeah, definitely. But in this context, I'm thinking about you were once in university, a 20-year-old, a 24-year-old thereabout, and at that particular point in your life, how did you perceive sexual purity? How did you perceive sexual purity while you were in this particular period in your life?
I think one thing I will have to say is that when I was that age, I didn't know about sexual purity, my guys. I've been into the world. I have done all those things that people in the world, people who walk in rebellion have lived. So I never thought about sexual purity, because for me it was these girls, who are we leaving them to, and as I grew up in a place where I knew that men like us, we're supposed to be having more than 3-4 girlfriends. If you can have them, you can pray them all. Those are our mottos back then. But when I got born again is when I started now to learn about sexual purity. So from your question, I think for me, when I was 20, when I was that age, I lived a lie. I didn't know the truth. And that's the reason why today I live and breathe to tell the truth. Because I want young people to know the truth. I keep on saying this. Those years, my 20s, and I lost them. And today I recover them by speaking the truth, by breathing the truth and telling young people the truth. So when I was that age, I didn't know about sexual purity. I knew for me, girls, if you can have them, you can play them all.
So, Pastor Moffat, I don't know if I should say an issue or something I should raise. When we are usually in conferences or just talking to elders, they usually tell us that ukikuwa pure when you are young, it's kind of like spills over to after your marriage. Like, are you guaranteed to have a great marriage when you maintain purity? Ama wanatucheza, wanatudanganya tu. What is the logic behind that?
This is what I will say, with series of time and also experience and encounters, that statement is very true. And where are we coming? Where are those elders coming from? Number one, I will say they are coming from experience, because what we think and what we see about marriage in our social media, in so many things, it's not how it is. But this is the point. There are issues in marriage. There are choices. We as human beings, the choices that we make, they are what we call our drivers. And so one of the things, when you're young like this, the choices that you make right now will help you. It's like you're planning for your tomorrow. And the reason why I'm saying this, it is because when I made the wrong choices when I was 20 and those years, I had to do a lot to make sure that trying to get out of those choices that I made then. I went through trials. I went through temptations to make sure that I'm facing and fighting that good fight to make sure that I'm coming out of those choices that I made back then. And that's the reason why today I can say I'm enjoying my marriage, because when I came to realize, or when I got born again, I had to make sure that I'm fighting that good fight because of some of the choices that I made when I was then. So Ruth, I will say this: that statement it's very true, but that statement needs extra knowledge in it, because if you don't have people who are telling you that, then you will make wrong choices today, and that's why you're finding that young people marriages, they're ending up to divorce after 6 months, after 4 months, because of the choices that they made when they were 20. Some of us, we stay in offices and doing counseling, and most of the time we find, or we go down to the roots, and we find that these people, the issues that they are having in their marriage life, it's because of some of their choices that they made when they were 20, when they were 25, when they were 22. So that statement is very true. Our cheesy, it is a true statement, but that statement needs extra knowledge. It's like what we keep on saying about sin. We keep on saying God loves sinners, but that is half truth. Full truth is God loves sinners and hates sin. That is the full gospel. So it is a half statement. That statement, Ruth, needs extra knowledge and words on top of it.
And Pastor, speaking about wrong and right choices, you just told us about your youthful days. Okay, not your early youth days. Of how you made wrong choices. And so from that explanation, I'm thinking about making the right choice now in our context as teenagers at this point. Making the right choice is not that simple. It's not just like, you know what, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this. It's not that simple. I feel like it's a very gray area that we never really look and try to understand, because in our current society, there are a lot of things that affects us making the right choice or the wrong choice, so to say. we have literature, we have all this media that we're exposing ourselves to, that makes it really hard for us to make the right choice, because in each and every exposition that we expose ourselves to, we are met with a very different reality. And as young as we are, our brain composition are shaped by this information that we take in from our environments. If I watch a movie, I see that someone is having just casual sex, my brain composition registers that, okay, is this okay to have, you know? When I come back to school, I have my friends telling me that, you know what, why are you not trying this? You should watch this, you should do this, you should do that. So all these influences are surrounding us. Making the right choice might not be as easy as it seems, and making the wrong choice might be very easy because you just want to fit in and whatnot. So how do we actually maintain our purity in these circumstances that surround us?
Let me first of all start from the foundation, because as a young person, there are three things that you need to look at as you're growing up in your 20s. Number one is your foundation. Number two is what I call your gratifications, and number three is your clarification. Those three are very key from my experience and the study that I've studied about the young people. I've come up with those three things. Your foundation is very key. Your gratification, you have to look at them, you have to see, you have to, dig deep in you and look at what are these. And number four is your clarification. Hear what I mean about and I will go, point by point. I will make sure you understand this. Your foundation. Let me start from that point. Your foundation. What is your foundation? And this is very key. And when I say foundation, is you have to look at what you watch. You have to look at your environment. You have to look at how you grew up, the culture that you grew up. And I want to say this. When you look at a long time ago, in the days of the Enlightenment, this is when faith was changed to reasoning. That is when Karl Marx, and you guys, you know about Marxism. That is when things changed, because we start reasoning in a way that the world is taking us, than reasoning in the way our Creator is taking us. And that's the reason why we have all these theories about life. But I want to tell you this, that every human being is a spiritual being. Whether you believe in all these other things, but we are spiritual beings. That's the first thing. Number two, and I'm talking about the foundation. Number two, so number one in foundation, you have to look at your culture. You have to look at how you have grown up, the environment that you have grown up. You have to look at all those. Number two, it is the culture that we are living right now. We are living in what you call a sexual revolution present day. That's for sure. It is what is happening today. The lifestyle, movies, TV shows, advertisement, all of them are glorifying sex. So we are living in such an environment. We are living such an worldview that is it is a sexual revolution. That is where we are living. Sex has become a right, and a means of personal identification, which it should not be. It should not be. So you have to look at your foundation very, very, very key. How I was grown up, how I've been brought up. Number two, what are things that are, gratifying us as a young person? You have to look at that. You have to make sure that you are understanding your life from that perspective. And most of the time, we want to gratify the flesh. Everything that we do, because of how we are as men, we are rebellious people. We have fallen short of the glory of God. Everything that we do today, it is leading us towards sinning. So you have to know that your body will always lead you to that, to sinning. And most of the time in our age, we see girls, we see men, we see good-looking men, we see good girls with nice hips and big hips and all that. And those things, most of the time, they lead us, to fall into sin. That is the rebellious generation of people we are. So you have to look at what is gratifying you. You have to look at those things. What are they? You have to write them down. Look at them. Know that Pastor Moffat, when you look at a woman, when you look at, girls with big hips, short girls, there's something happens to your body. So, and you have to make sure that, you're walking away from them. Then the last one, your clarification, you have to make sure that you're walking and breathing the truth. And here, the truth is everything that leads you towards your Creator, towards God. That is the truth. That is moving you. That is creating that desire of loving God.
On that note, yes. I want to ask, now that there is a lot going on in the world and it's possible as a youth, even a Christian youth, to have sexual tension, how then do we relieve that in an unsinful way, if there's something like that?
I think you cannot say unsinful way. This is what I want to say. For us as young people to live right, we have to know the truth. Okay? We have to make sure that we are quenching this gratification season or life and all that. And the only way we can do that, it is by the Spirit of God. I don't know. I want to go to this to scriptures so that we can know the truth. I can cite from that so that our lives can change. Because I want us to realize that you and me, Rebecca, everyone who is listening and who is watching, God has wired and redeemed us with the energy, to lead, to risk, to serve, to initiate, to work hard, and to sacrifice. I will repeat that again. God has wired every young person, those who are listening to me, those who are seeing me, He has wired us, He has redeemed us with energy. Number 1, to lead. Number 2, to risk. Number 3, to serve. Number 4, to initiate. Number 5, to work hard and to sacrifice. To love with Christ love, the way Christ loved us. We have that in us. But I want us to go to scripture so that if we know the truth, then we will live in the truth. But because right now we are living in a lie, that's the reason why these things are happening to us. And there are people outside here who are living the truth. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12.
Do not let anyone down on you because you're young, but set an example for the believers in speech, conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity.
So Paul is old, and he's in that context. Paul is old, and he has given this young man called Timothy that he has been mentoring. And there's this issue in a church, and he's leaving this young man, and he's telling this young man, I want you to go to this to take care of this church. And there's Timothy, there's Titus, all of these guys, they are taking care of a church. But he's telling them this is the way it is. Young people are being looked, people are not trusting young people in those contexts. And then in our context is the same thing. But he tells them 5 things that are very key that I keep on telling young people outside here. That let no one look down on you. Number 1, In speech, where are you getting your wisdom and knowledge from? In speech, where are you getting your wisdom and your knowledge from? If you're getting your knowledge and your wisdom from the world, you will have wrong perception about this life. Consider your conversation, the conversation that you're making, the friends that you're talking. What are you talking? Are you talking, things that are helping you? Consider your calls. Consider your texts. Consider your tweets. Are you setting an example? You yourself. Before we change the world, before we change the things, we have to change us. So you have to consider your calls, your conversation, consider your text, consider your tweets. Are you setting an example? Number one, that is in speech. Number two, in your conduct. This is what Paul is saying from 1 Timothy chapter 2. In your conduct, how do you spend your time? How do you spend your money? How do you spend it? What are those things that you're attentive to? How do you live your life? You have to look at that. Number three, in love. This is where I will say this is where everything, destroys us. Because most of the time we think love is I will say this, is a feeling towards someone. And that is how we have grown up. But I want you to realize this. Love is not selfish. And the definition of love has to come from our Creator. Love is God. Love is God. That for Him, He led us. He gave His only Son to show the meaning of love. So what I'm saying is this. When it comes to love, most of the time we think that love, is me having 1, 2, 3 girlfriends or doing that, or pouring myself and asking this girl, if you love me, why don't you give me? No, that is so selfish. Love is about sacrificing. Love is about protecting. Love is about, it is not me. It is not what I'm getting from me. Am I serving you in the right way? Number three, in faith, believing what God has said, believing God, and in faith, expecting obstacle and opposition in terms of relationship, with your parents, with your peers, and making sure that you are in that foundation of faith, hoping for the best, knowing that trials and hardship, disappointments, they will come, but you're facing them with hope and joy, knowing that God is in me. And the last one is what you call impurity. Impurity means, this is what it means from the Greek word angela, which means mind, heart has a single and devotion and affection towards God. So, Rebecca, to answer your question, this is the way that the moment you walk this talk of 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12, then you have what I call your clarification in this life. Your speech, your conduct, your love life, how you live your faith and in purity. You will be walking in the right way.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm just getting knowledge, wisdom. And what I'm getting is that it's not easy, but have a mandate. And we have hope and we have Christ, and we'll make it in this work on sexual purity. But then I have a question. When it comes to sexual purity, does it mean that our goal should be? Is it that our goal should be not having sex before marriage? Is that what our goal should be? There are the things to that. Like, if I get into marriage when I am a virgin, have I attained sexual purity?
No. Your goal should never be, that. Every young person goal should be to focus and to have, and that's what I said in purity. In purity, our mind and your heart have a singleness of devotion and affection towards God. That should be your goal. That should be your goal. And if that should be your goal, if your goal it is to please your master, it is to please God, it is to serve God, it is to be devoted to God, then you will walk in the right way. There are some of the things that won't come your way. You will not attract other things in your life. You will not attract them. Let me also go to a very good scripture that I want you also to see and to know, your goal in this life. I want you guys to turn to Second Corinthians. First Corinthians chapter 2, verse 10. But I want you to start from verse 6. I want you to start from verse 6 to verse 10.
Verse 6. We do, however, speak a message of wisdom, sure of this age, or the rulers of this age, who are coming to do nothing. No, God's wisdom, a mystery that has been hidden, that God destined for our glory before time began. Rulers of this world, of this age, understood it. For if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. However, as it is written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love them. These are the things God has revealed to us by His Spirit. The Spirit searches all things, even the deep things of God.
That scripture changes a lot in our lives, because this is what He's saying, that if your devotion and your singleness of the mind is focused towards God, then you will be able to understand this mystery. God will be able to prepare you, and He will be able to lead you, because you love Him. And I'll tell you this, if you walk by the Spirit, it's only the Spirit that searches all things and the deeper things of God. So your goal, Ruth, should be towards singleness of devotion and affection towards God. That should be your goal. And the moment that becomes your goal, then God will prepare you, because you love Him, to this wisdom that the rulers and the kings of this age cannot be able to understand. So your goal should be the singleness of devotion and affection towards God.
And Pastor, drawing an element from what you just said about our devotion to God, we've had this conversation previously in the beginning of the year when we were doing the Angaza publication about Christian dating, and we've normally flaunted the idea that we need to be intentional about the relationships that we get ourselves into, and hence the whole concept about Christian dating, that we should be dating with the intention of getting married at the end of the day. But there's this complexity that comes about when a man or a woman of God, they've gotten together, they're dating, they're very committed towards the course, and they're very serious about getting married at the end of the day. But things don't work out as expected, and people normally say that, he or she has undergone character development in the relationship and whatnot. So when things don't go as planned, the idea that this person had of dating, that is disrupted and is changed, so to say. The perception is changed because it didn't work at the first. It didn't work in the first experience, and that perception changes. So someone now feels like it doesn't really work that way anymore. And so their perception changes, and he or she goes on to develop a new perception on dating, and it affects their sexual purity, so to say. And I've seen this firsthand amongst my friends. So how do we go about that?
Number one, and I like answering question in a way that young people are understanding this. Number one, there's what you call moral shifting in our generation. There's what you call moral shifting. And when I say moral shifting, I mean, there are things that we think today are the right thing when it comes to dating and all. For your information, for me, I don't believe in dating, because this is it. Dating is where you go with this girl out. Tomorrow you can go with another girl because you're trying to find out, is this lady likable? Can I work something out with this lady? From first-hand encounter, I don't believe in dating. That is me. Other people, they believe in it, and it's okay. But for me, I don't believe in that. I believe in courtship, and this is what happens. The moment you live in the ways of the Lord, and I told you, the moment the singleness of devotion and have affection towards God, God will always lead you. God will always lead you, and He will lead you. And He did to some people like us. We met our wives in the mission field, and that was not the case. We were doing other things, and God, opened our hearts so that we can be able to be likable. And after that, we go, because our intention was towards God. And this is so. The first thing is this: the moral shifting, and your question, Collins, comes because of the moral shifting that today we are believing so much on the story of dating. And you have this one girl, and you go out with her for let's say more than five dates and all that, and the next thing you're like, I like her, and you move on. And that is not the definition of dating. Dating has to do with you going out with this Ruth tomorrow. You're a social being, so you're trying to know these girls. And that's what I said. For me, I don't believe in that. For me, I believe the moment you have the singleness of devotion and affection towards God, then God leads you. And as you walk and you're involving God in your life, God leads you to this lady. And when He leads you to this lady, and you walk the journey together, because you people are focusing on God. Okay? Number one, let me say this: you may walk with that girl and things don't happen. It's it's human, it's normal. But because you two, your focus was towards God, then you will not have issues, because your focus was God is the center of this. Issue comes when you guys, your devotion is not towards God. Your devotion is so selfish, because you go towards touching each other. You go towards kissing each other. So the moment you separate, you people, you go with part of each other, and so there are issues you have. This guy, he was not good at kissing. This girl, he didn't have big hips. Because when you hear those stories, it's all about the flesh. It's never about the inside. So when it comes to courting, it's always the inside out, not outside in. I'll repeat that again. When it comes to courting, it is not outside in. It is not your big hips that leads me to be where you are. It is your inside coming out. It is knowing the inside and the inside coming out. So the moment you are genuine in that, you are genuine in that relationship, then God is the center. Then you will not have these other issues that we keep on having. But when the issues is the flesh, and I'm saying this with an experience, and I will say this: I had a girl, when I was in Bible school, and for me, I came to realize, though God was really speaking to me and in His word and telling me this is not the thing. For me, I thought about the outside, beautiful, all those things. I thought about them, but the moment I came to realize and having a devotion and talking to God, and it's not about the outside, it's about the inside coming out. It's about knowing this person inside and making me the center. So the moment you make God the center, then you won't have those issues because you are so focusing on God.
I'd like us to dip our toes in a very controversial issue that has been making rounds in our schools, and that is sex education. Before we started filming the episode, we were just talking with Ruth and Becky, and we all realized that while we were in school, and even now we're in school, we never really had any form of sexual education. There were these life skill lessons that never really taught anything about life skills, so to say. They were just free lessons. So in our 20 or so years of life, up to now that we are young adults, we never really had exposure to sex education. Whatever we've learned about sexual purity and sex in general has been through cracks here and there. Kairu Institute of Sex Education here and there, from our friends, from whatnot, from the internet, from the things that we consume, memes, as Ruth is saying. And so, Pastor, what do you think about sex education being integrated to schools? Because I think it's a conversation that is that is happening right now. That do you think that kids, as young as they are, should be taught at a very young age about sex education so that they become knowledgeable about this particular phenomenon as they grow up?
Collins, this is my view. This is my view. This is not everyone's view. This is my view. But for me, that is, will I say, I don't know which word to use, but we are taking to school what belongs to parents. We are taking to school what belongs to parents. Their sex education should be from the house. That is the first thing. It should be from your mom, from your father. It should be from home first. Before even we think about sex education in school, is it being taught in the house? I think for me, if I was in that that leadership or place where I'm making these decisions, I think that's the first thing I will take it. I will say we are taking it first to the parents, because the moment it comes to school, without first starting from our own houses, then there will be issues. I'll give a very good example right now. Within the next 5 or within the next 10 years, and even right now, let me just say, even right now, our parents, they don't have a say, in our lives. most of us today, we are going to Google. Google has become our mother. Google has become our father. And it is the wrong place. I think for me, sex education should start from the house. My mother, my dad should start telling me about sex from when I'm young. And when you have those homes that parents are talking about sex to their children, you can really see how friendly they are. Because Ruth, Rebecca, your first boyfriend should be your dad. Your boyfriend who will come next, he should beat your dad's game so that to win your heart. And this is the thing. If this boy beats your dad's game, I can assure you, because most of the girls, and this is not proven. It's not proven. This is my view. Most girls, they're looking for somebody like their dad, or some are running away from someone who is like their dad. And that's the reason why we're having the issue of sexual purity. If this issue of sex will start from home, will start from mom telling you, Ruth, you have started to have hips, you've started to have, changing, the body is changing, you need to know this. But you know what our parents have been telling us? Nisika kuone na kijana. No, that is not the thing. They should, even when they see you with a boy, they should tell you, Ruth, bring him home. And when they and when he comes home, they should start telling you two guys, this is it. Sex is for married people. Sex is for procreation. Sex is for, 1, 2, 3. And the moment you hear from your parents, you will have what you call the positive fear. Not the fear that you are having. The positive fear. You'll know that I don't want to let my mom down. I don't want to let my dad down. Because they have been talking to me. They have been, giving me this knowledge. And so even when a guy comes and tell you, Rebecca, you're beautiful, you'll tell that guy, tell me something new. Because you know what? You've been hearing your dad and your mom telling you, Rebecca, you are beautiful. You are beautiful. I value you. I love you. So when this guy from Nairobi campus comes and tell you, Rebecca, you look beautiful, you'll be like, tell me something that I don't know. You get. So for me, Collins, sex education should start in our houses. The moment it starts there, then it can go to these other places. Because when it comes to school, everyone will be comfortable, because the first person who introduced to you about sex education, it is my mom and my dad. These are the first people who taught me about sex education. So I will not have issues of life, because my mom and my dad, they taught me about that. Why don't we have issues of eating today? Ati nimepeleka to campus to be taught how to eat, how to put food in our mouth. Why? Because look at the people who taught us to eat. It's our parents. Our parents taught us how to eat. When you're growing up, you found yourself eating. You found yourself being given a spoon to eat. And today, you don't need somebody to ask you to eat. We have to make sure that there are some things that we have to be taught from our parents, and we will not have issues. It will be the same thing. Sex will not have issues with sex. Will not have issue with sexual purity as such the way we are having.
Now that there's something you said about fixing ourselves first before trying to fix others. So let's take, for instance, tushaji fix. now we are in the singleness of God. We are devoted to God. But then we are in a class situation and we have our friends who have that perspective about sexual purity. And we find ourselves in being, I don't know if I should say mocked or laughed at. And you just hear their views about sex, and sometimes that are in a kubo, because you're like, how can you think like this? So how do you explain to them about this commitment to purity now that they don't understand it? How do you now change your environment?
That one, I'll respond to that one like this. Sometimes, even being silent, you are talking. This is what I would say. Sometimes our personal life can minister to somebody. The reason why such things happen, and I will say this, and I say this when I was starting, that sex has become a right and a means of expressing our personal identity. So people are hooking up, without any intention of deep relationship and all that thing. And the moment you're fixing yourself, number one, the things that happen is that you get your identity. The reason why you're finding young people today, they want to wear Air Force, they want to wear all these things, Number one is that, they have issues of identity, so they want to identify with someone else. They want to identify themselves with Gucci. They want people to identify them with Gucci and all that. And I'm not saying it's bad to wear them. I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm trying to say is this: that as when we are fixing ourselves first, our identity is fixed in number. The number one thing to be fixed is our identity. So you get this identity, and your identity should come from Christ. So the moment your identity comes from Christ first, then no matter what other people are saying, it will never affect you in your life, because your identity is from the Lord. That is the first thing. And I'm saying this from an encounter of, as a youth pastor, you are called someone to go and talk to youth, and some of them are looking at you like this and they are wondering, what are you doing here? Wengine wanakucheka and all that. But you come out of there with not self-esteem, low self-esteem. You don't come out of that place with low self-esteem. You deliver what God needed you to deliver. So what am I saying? In class, most of us, the reason why we end up in groups that, end up, messing us up and all that, it's because of identity. So the moment you have an identity and you know that your identity is from Christ, the next thing that you need to do, even in that class, you need to walk in the right way. So you will be the only Christ that Rebecca maybe will see. Ruth Collins, you will be the only Christ that Eric will see. So sometimes you may not speak, but how you're walking the talk, it will make somebody to come and ask you, Collins, what happened? The 4 years that you're in campus, how did you make it? How did you walk? And it's because, yes, you didn't talk to them, but your lifestyle preached to them. Your lifestyle talked to them. So, Ruth, if there's one thing that we need to understand is, one, have an identity and know that your identity is from Christ. So no matter what people come and tell you, you know that my identity is from Christ. Number two, sometimes, and there are some people that you will not talk to, but your lifestyle will talk to them. How you are living your life. So it is very key. I'll give you a very good example. Some of us who were mocked when we started, when we went to Bible school, and By then, when we were in Bible school, we were telling people, one day you will talk to somebody first before talking to me. So what we were telling them in a layman's language, we were telling them, one day you'll come to a receptionist, to talk to you and to let you in to see me. And they were like, today those things are happening. We meet people who we thought are, the Hercules of those days. They come, they hear that you're ministering somewhere. When they come to see you, they meet a receptionist first. They are told, sit there. I have to ask the pastor if you had an appointment. Those things happen. And it's because, number one, you have an identity. Your identity is in Christ Jesus and you're walking the talk. So, Ruth, that is what I will say. Identity. Number two, let your lifestyle talk to them.